This is what you came up with after 3 days? An elementary school essay has more creativity than this. 3 months into the job, my proposal was rejected by director Sue for the 12th time. This 28-year-old creative director, who had already won international awards, was the company's renowned ice beauty, and the way she looked at me was always strange. Until that day, working overtime, I stumbled upon her holding a stray cat, whispering softly, "Good kitty, take another bite." What was even more startling was that the orange cat appeared on my doorstep the next day, my rejected proposal hanging around its neck, with words written in red pen. "Right. I'll teach you this time." So, is my aloof boss actually a cat-like girlfriend, or does she really turn to a cat? Chung Xiaoyang, a copywriter planner in an advertising agency as ordinary as they come, was facing the biggest crisis of my career. My proposal had been rejected by director Sue again. This is what you came up with after 3 days. Su Qingyu tossed the folder onto my desk with a smack. An elementary school essay has more creativity than this. I lowered my head, not daring to look at her. Su Qingyu, the creative director of our Chuangxiang Media, had led her team to win multiple international awards at just 28. She was widely recognized in the industry as a talented woman. Of course, she was also the company's renowned ice beauty, a delicate face like a porcelain doll, perpetually expressionless, walking with an imposing air in her 10-centimeter heels, her gaze sharp enough to pin you to the wall. 9 a.m. tomorrow, I want to see a new proposal. She dropped the sentence and turned to leave, her black suit skirt cutting a sharp arc through the air. Only after her figure disappeared behind a glass door did the entire creative department seem to come back to life, as if someone had pressed play. "Xiaoyang, lucky you, graced by director Sue for the 3rd time this week." Brother Zhang from the next cubicle patted my shoulder, his tone full of sympathy. I gave a wry smile and opened the rejected proposal. It was densely covered in red annotations. Even the punctuation hadn't been spared. In my 3 months at Chuangxiang Media, director Sue had rejected more of my proposals than those of the entire department combined. "Do you think director Sue particularly hates me?" I asked Brother Zhang in a low voice. Brother Zhang leaned inconspiratorially. "From what I've observed, director Sue is like that with everyone, but," he lowered his voice, "the way she looks at you really is different. Harsher. Hard to say. It's like how a cat stares at a ball of yarn." I was completely baffled. What kind of strange comparison was that? Closing time arrived, and colleagues left one after another. I looked at the half-finished proposal on my computer, sighed, and figured it would be another late night. 9 p.m. I was the only one left in the creative department. Just as I was racking my brains for copy, I suddenly heard strange noises coming from the director's office. Director Sue hadn't left yet. I hesitated for a moment, then decided to go ask if she wanted to order takeout together. Approaching her office, I found the door slightly ajar. From inside came a soft meow. I quietly pushed the door open a crack. The scene before me instantly turned me to stone. Su Qingyu had taken off her high heels and was sitting cross-legged on the carpet. Her suit jacket was casually draped over the back of her chair, and the top 2 buttons of her white blouse were undone. But the most astonishing thing was she was holding an orange cat in her arms, cooing in a gentle voice I'd never heard before. "Good kitty, just one more bite." Shocked, I took a step back, accidentally bumping the door. "Who's there?" Su Qingyu's voice instantly reverted to its usual icy tone. It was too late to flee. Stealing myself, I pushed the door open. "Director Sue, it's me. I wanted to ask if you wanted to order takeout together." Su Qingyu quickly put the cat down, stood up, and straightened her clothes, but the faint blush on her face and the cat hair clinging to her own hair betrayed her. "Chung Xiaoyang, don't you know to knock before entering?" "I'm sorry. I knocked. Maybe you didn't hear." I explained frantically, but my gaze was involuntarily drawn to the orange cat. It was leisurely licking its paws, completely unafraid of strangers. Su Qingyu followed my gaze, her expression a little unnatural. "This is the company's cat." "The company keeps a cat?" I asked in surprise. "A stray. It sometimes comes in to get warm," she explained dryly, bending down to hide the cat food and cans on the floor, but accidentally knocked over her bag, spilling its contents everywhere. I quickly knelt down to help gather things, discovering that besides cosmetics and documents, there were several packs of cat treats and a copy of Cat Psychology. Su Qingyu snatched the book and stuffed it back in her bag, the tips of her ears turning red. Chung Xiaoyang, you saw nothing tonight, understand? Understood. I nodded like crazy, but couldn't help the corners of my mouth turning up. So the cold and strict Director Su is secretly a cat lover? This contrast is just too adorable. Su Qingyu put her stern face back on. Have you finished revising your proposal? Not yet. Then hurry up and get to it. She glared at me, but I wasn't sure if it was my imagination. Her gaze didn't seem as cold as usual. I turned to leave, but the orange cat suddenly darted to my feet, rubbing affectionately against my trouser leg. Mimi, Su Qingyu exclaimed, then explained awkwardly. It doesn't usually get close to strangers. I crouched down and scratched the cat under its chin. It immediately started purring loudly. I used to feed stray cats often in college. Maybe I still smell like cat. Su Qingyu's eyes widened slightly, as if she wanted to say something but held back. Finally, she just cleared her throat lightly. Since you haven't eaten either, then, let's order takeout together. And so, Director Su and I shared a silent dinner in a strange atmosphere. But I noticed that when she thought I wasn't looking, her gaze towards me was indeed like Brother Zhang said, like a cat staring at a ball of yarn, full of curiosity and some emotion I couldn't quite place. The next morning, I had just arrived at the company when I was called into the director's office. Close the door, Su Qingyu said without looking up. I closed the door nervously, thinking, it's over, she's definitely going to fire me because of last night. Su Qingyu took a folder from her drawer and pushed it towards me. Blue Island Coffee's new proposal. The pitch is next Monday. You'll be the lead creator. My eyes widened. Blue Island is an important client for the company. This kind of project is usually handled by senior planners. How could it be assigned to a newcomer like me? Director Shu. I've seen your portfolio from before you joined. Your writing is good, but you lack business sense. She finally looked up at me, her gaze focused. This time, I will personally guide you. Don't disappoint me. I took the folder, flattered and surprised, and noticed an extra cup of coffee on her desk, the signature latte from my favorite cafe. It's from the new place downstairs. Just picked it up on the way, she said, looking down at her documents, her tone casual. You can go now. See you in the conference room at 10. I walked out of the office and noticed the name on the coffee cup had been crossed out, but I could faintly make out my name. So this coffee wasn't on the way, but bought specifically for me? Brother Zhang sidled up. Did Director Su give you a hard time? No. I shook my head, the corners of my mouth lifting involuntarily. She gave me a cup of coffee. No, an opportunity. In the following days, Su Qingyu's special attention towards me intensified. She provided more feedback on my proposals than ever before, always coincidentally brought me food when I worked overtime, and her steps would unconsciously slow down when passing my workstation. And my own gaze towards her shifted from initial fear to admiration, and even a little bit of fluttering in my heart. Friday night, we pulled an all-nighter working on the Blue Island proposal. Su Qingyu suddenly started coughing violently, her face frighteningly pale. Director Su, are you all right? I quickly poured her a cup of hot water. I'm fine. It's an old problem. She waved her hand dismissively, but suddenly her vision went black and she pitched forward. I quickly caught her. She felt burning hot to the touch. You have a fever. I'll take you to the hospital. No need. She struggled weakly. Just take me home. The medicine is in my bag. Su Qingyu's home was unexpectedly cozy, with light-colored decor and cat motifs everywhere. There was even a cat tree on the balcony. You have a cat? I asked, helping her sit down on the sofa. Yes. Named Pudding. She pointed towards the bedroom. He's shy with strangers, probably hiding. I found a medicine box, gave her fever medicine according to the instructions, and placed a damp towel on her forehead. Su Qingyu closed her eyes, her eyelashes trembling slightly. All her usual sharpness was gone. She looked fragile and soft. Why do you work so hard? I asked softly. She was silent for a moment. Because I don't want to be looked down upon. Her voice was barely audible. A woman in this position has to be 10 times better than a man. My heart clenched suddenly. So beneath that cool exterior, she was under so much pressure. You're already outstanding. I instinctively took her hand. Everyone in the company admires you. Su Qingyu opened her eyes, her amber eyes looking straight at me. What about you? Are you afraid of me? I used to be, I answered honestly. Not anymore. The corners of her mouth lifted slightly. Chung Xiaoyang, you really are an odd person. That night, I stayed watch on her sofa all night. The next morning, Su Qingyu's fever had broken. I was in the kitchen making congee when I suddenly felt someone standing behind me. Turning around, I saw Su Qingyu in loungewear, her hair casually tied up, looking much younger without makeup. Gee, good morning, I stammered, my heart racing. Morning. She glanced at the congee in the pot. Didn't expect you knew how to cook. My mom's a doctor. She always says you should eat light food when you're sick. Su Qingyu suddenly reached out and plucked something from my hair. It was a piece of fur from Pudding, the ginger cat from last night. We were extremely close. I could smell the faint scent of her body wash. Chung Xiaoyang, she said softly, thank you. In that moment, I was sure I saw a glint in her eyes. No longer the look of a cat watching a ball of yarn, but something warmer, softer. 3 days before the Blue Island coffee proposal deadline, Su Qingyu returned to work, recovered, and the office atmosphere immediately tensed up. Everyone, meeting room now. She strode into the creative department in her 10-centimeter heels, her voice regaining its usual sharpness, though an occasional soft cough betrayed her incomplete recovery. I followed my colleagues, clutching my laptop, my gaze unconsciously drawn to her back. Having not seen her for 3 days, Su Qingyu seemed to have lost some weight. The line of her shoulders under the suit jacket looked even thinner, but her straight back still radiated an inviolable aura. In the meeting room, Su Qingyu projected our proposal onto the large screen. The overall concept is acceptable, she stated, but the execution details are a mess. She clicked to the first page. Who came up with this slogan? I timidly raised my hand. I did. Too straightforward, lacks memorability. She frowned, but paused when she flipped to the next page. However, this visual concept is not bad. My eyes widened. Director Su actually praised someone in public? My colleagues exchanged surprised glances, and Brother Zhang secretly gave me a thumbs up under the table. After the meeting, Su Qingyu called out to me, Chung Xiaoyang, stay behind. Once everyone else had left, she handed me a USB drive. These are the collected advertising cases from Blue Island over the years. Review them tonight and tell me your thoughts tomorrow. Understood, Director Su. I took the USB, my fingertips accidentally brushing against her hand, and I immediately recoiled as if shocked. Su Qingyu didn't seem to notice my flustered reaction, but as she turned to leave, she murmured softly, that day. Thank you for looking after me. I froze in place, only snapping out of it after she had left the conference room. Had the notoriously cold and strict director, Su, just thanked me? That night, back at home, I plugged in a USB to study the materials, only to discover that aside from the Blue Island cases, there was also a folder labeled Morning Light. Out of curiosity, I clicked on it. The next second, I nearly fell out of my chair. Inside were all the articles I had published under the pen name Morning Light during college. From short essays in campus magazines to flash fiction on online platforms, even a few early works I had forgotten about myself, all meticulously categorized and saved. How is this possible? My hands began to tremble. Morning Light had been my secret identity throughout my 4 years of college. Not even my roommates knew about it. Back then, I was obsessed with writing, but too embarrassed to let anyone know about this frivolous hobby. So I adopted the pen name and posted my work on niche platforms. After graduating and entering the advertising industry, I had stopped updating entirely. How did Su Qingyu have these? How did she know Morning Light was me? My thoughts were interrupted by the sudden ringing of my phone. Caller ID, Director Su. Have you reviewed the materials? Her voice came through the phone, softer than usual. I'm looking at them now. I hesitated, then decided to ask directly, Director Su, about that Morning Light folder. There was silence on the other end for a few seconds. You found it, she sighed lightly. I knew you'd be curious. How do you have my articles? And how did you know I wrote them? 3 years ago, I read Rainy Night Cafe in the University Journal and loved its delicate style, Su Qingyu said, her voice warm with reminiscence. Later, I happened to see your graduation portfolio in an intern's resume. The writing style was identical to Morning Light. I was too stunned to speak. 3 years ago. That would mean, right after I graduated? So, you've known all along. MHM. She paused. That's also why I insisted on bringing you into the creative department, even though your commercial work really needed improvement. Suddenly, it all made sense. Why she had been especially strict with me. It wasn't because she disliked me. On the contrary, she had higher expectations for me. Director Sue, get some rest early. We still have to revise the proposal tomorrow. She quickly switched back to work mode, but I could hear a hint of amusement in her voice. Also, you can call me Qingyu in private. After hanging up, I collapsed on my bed, my heart pounding wildly. Su Qingyu, the renowned creative director in the industry, was actually my reader and had been quietly following me for 3 years. The realization made my world spin. The next morning, as soon as I arrived at the office, Zhanggu pulled me into the break room. Xiaoyang, have you offended Vice President Lin recently? He asked in a hushed voice. Lin Xiaofeng? No, why? I was completely baffled. Lin Xiaofeng was the vice president who had been parachuted in last month, reportedly sent by headquarters to strengthen management, and usually had little interaction with our creative department. Strange. He just asked me a bunch of questions about you and Director Sue in the elevator. Zhanggu frowned. Like whether the two of you were getting too close or something. My heart skipped a beat. Could Lin Xiaofeng have found out I went to Su Qingyu's place when she was sick? Just as I was thinking, the elevator dinged open, and Su Qingyu and Lin Xiaofeng walked out side by side. Lin Xiaofeng was sharply dressed in a suit, looking every bit the elite executive, smiling and saying something to Su Qingyu. She, however, remained expressionless, her eyes cold. As they passed the break room, Lin Xiaofeng suddenly looked at me. You must be Cheng Xiaoyang. I hear you're in charge of the Blue Island proposal. A promising young man. His smile was warm, but his eyes were cold and venomous, like a snake's. I couldn't help but stand up straighter. Hello, Deputy Director Lin. Su Qingyu frowned. Cheng Xiaoyang, come to my office at 10 to discuss the proposal. With that, she walked straight off, the sharp click of her high heels echoing on the marble floor. Lin Xiaofeng gave me a meaningful look before following her. See? I told you something was off. Brother Zhang patted my shoulder. Be careful. Deputy Director Lin doesn't seem to have good intentions. All day, I felt like a pair of eyes were watching me from the shadows. During my lunch break, while picking up takeout, I passed the stairwell and overheard Lin Xiaofeng on the phone. Su Qingyu is too assertive. Needs to be taken down a peg. That newcomer is a good way in. My heart sank. Lin Xiaofeng wanted to deal with Su Qingyu, and I was his pawn. At 3 in the afternoon, a company-wide email suddenly went out. A meeting for the entire creative department tomorrow at 9 a.m. Deputy Director Lin will announce the Organizational Structure Optimization Plan. The creative department instantly erupted. Organizational structure optimization. Everyone in the workplace knew it was a euphemism for layoffs. I immediately messaged Su Qingyu. Do you know about the meeting tomorrow? She replied instantly, yes. Focus on the Blue Island proposal. Don't get distracted. Clearly, she didn't want to discuss it further. Staring at my computer screen, a bold idea suddenly struck me. If I could win the Blue Island pitch, perhaps I could help solidify Su Qingyu's position and thwart Lin Xiaofeng's scheme. After work, I stayed late voluntarily to revise the proposal. At 8 p.m., I was the only one left in the office when I suddenly heard a faint meow. Turning around, I saw an orange cat crouching beside my chair. It was Pudding. What was Su Qingyu's cat doing here? Pudding. I tentatively reached out my hand. It immediately came closer, rubbing against my fingers, not at all shy around strangers as Su Qingyu had described. Just as I was wondering, Su Qingyu hurried into the creative department. Sorry, Pudding slipped out when I opened the door. She stopped, surprised, watching Pudding rolling around my legs. It's actually this friendly with you. I'm surprised too. I scratched Pudding under the chin, and it purred loudly. Su Qingyu's expression softened. It seems to really like you. She paused. Still working this late? Just want to refine the proposal a bit more. I hesitated, then decided to be upfront. I heard Deputy Director Lin might be targeting our department. Su Qingyu's eyes sharpened. Who told you? Brother Zhang said Deputy Director Lin was asking about us. And then there's the sudden announcement about restructuring. Su Qingyu sighed and sat down at the workstation next to mine. Pudding immediately jumped into her lap. Lin Xiaofeng was sent by headquarters to counterbalance me, she said softly. The major projects I've secured recently have moved someone else's cheese. So he wants to weaken your team through layoffs? More than that. Su Qingyu stroked Pudding, her voice frighteningly calm. He wants to force me out and take over my client resources. I clench my fists. We can't just sit back and wait. Su Qingyu looked at me in surprise, then suddenly smiled. We? Cheng Xiaoyang, you're just a newcomer who's been here 3 months. You don't need to get involved in this kind of struggle. But I was recruited by you, and I'm also your reader. I looked directly in her eyes. I want to help you. Su Qingyu was stunned, her amber eyes flickering with complex light under the lamp. Pudding looked at her, then at me, suddenly jumped from her lap onto mine, found a comfortable spot, and curled into a ball. Pudding, Su Qingyu exclaimed, then shook her head helplessly. He's never done this before. Maybe he knows I'm a good person? I said jokingly, gently stroking Pudding's soft fur. Su Qingyu looked at me, her gaze gradually softening. Cheng Xiaoyang, you really are a strange person. She stood up. Let's go, dinner's on me. We can discuss how to deal with Lin Xiaofeng while we eat. We went to a small restaurant near the company. Su Qingyu took off her suit jacket, wearing only a simple white shirt, her hair loosely draped. She looked much younger than she did in the office. Actually, I have an idea. I mustered my courage and said, Blue Island wants a younger transformation this time. We could be bolder. I elaborated on my creative idea, to break away from the common elite and bourgeois tone of coffee ads, focusing instead on the small, certain joys in everyday life, using realistic life scenes and emotional resonance to touch young consumers. Su Qingyu nodded as she listened, her eyes growing brighter. This angle is very novel, but also risky. Blue Island has always positioned itself with a high-end image. That's precisely why the transformation would have more impact, I said excitedly. And I checked the data. The fastest growth in coffee consumption among young people is in the affordable market. We found more and more common ground as we talked, and dinner lasted 2 hours. Su Qingyu even took out a notebook to jot down my ideas, treating me entirely as an equal partner, not a subordinate. Cheng Xiaoyang, she said suddenly as we were leaving, if Lin Xiaofeng targets you tomorrow, don't try to tough it out. Your career is just beginning. There's no need to sacrifice it for me. Director Su Qingyu, I called her by her first name for the first time. I don't want to help you, just to repay a favor. I took a deep breath. I like the way you are when you work. I like your dedication to creativity, and I also like your gentleness when you feed stray cats. I want to create outstanding work together with you. It's as simple as that. Su Qingyu's eyes widened slightly, a faint blush rising on her cheeks. Under the streetlight, her beauty made my heart tremble. Silly, she said softly, her voice carrying a softness I had never heard before. Let's go, it's very late. The next day, the entire creative department gathered nervously in the conference room. Lin Xiaofeng stood at the front, impeccably dressed in a suit, smiling amiably. Everyone, after consideration and decision by headquarters, the creative department will undergo personnel optimization. He rambled on with platitudes about improving efficiency and streamlining structure, finally revealing his true intentions. Considering Director Su's heavy workload, headquarters has decided to divide the creative department into 2 groups. Group A will continue to be led by Director Su, and Group B will be managed directly by me. The following is the member list for Group B. He read out the names of all of Su Qingyu's key subordinates, including Brother Zhang. This was clearly an attempt to sideline Su Qingyu. I stole a glance at Su Qingyu. Her face was expressionless, but the knuckles of the hand gripping her pen had turned white. Additionally, Lin Xiaofeng suddenly looked at me. Cheng Xiaoyang is transferred to the marketing department, effective immediately. The conference room erupted in an uproar. The marketing department? That was equivalent to kicking me out of the creative core. I object, Su Qingyu said coldly. Cheng Xiaoyang is currently in charge of the Blue Island proposal. Changing personnel abruptly is detrimental to the pitch. Director Su, Lin Xiaofeng gave a fake smile. Chung Xiaoyang is just a newcomer. I believe the marketing department has a greater need for talent like him. He deliberately emphasized the word talent. His eyes filled with contempt. I clenched my fists, anger burning inside me. Just then, Su Qingyu did something that shocked everyone. She stood up and slammed her folder heavily onto the table. Deputy General Manager Lin, this is the proposal Chung Xiaoyang prepared for Blue Island. I believe it's the most groundbreaking idea we've had in years. If you insist on transferring him, then I'll have no choice but to leave with this proposal. The conference room fell silent. Lin Xiaofeng's face turned livid. Director Su, are you threatening the company? No, I'm stating a fact. Su Qingyu's voice was calm yet firm. Chuangxiang Media's core competitiveness lies in creativity, not office politics. If headquarters believes the latter is more important, then perhaps I'm not suited for this place. I was stunned. Was Su Qingyu risking her career to protect me? Lin Xiaofeng clearly hadn't expected this move, his expression fluctuating uncertainly. Just as the atmosphere grew tense, the conference room door was pushed open, and CEO Chen walked in. What's going on? I could hear you arguing from the hallway. After hearing the explanation, CEO Chen flipped through the proposal Su Qingyu had brought, his brow gradually smoothing out. This idea is very interesting. He looked at me. Chung Xiaoyang, did you come up with this? It was completed under Director Su's guidance, I answered cautiously. CEO Chen pondered for a moment before making a decision. The Blue Island proposal will proceed as planned. Chung Xiaoyang will remain in the creative department. As for the structural adjustments, we'll discuss them after the pitch. Lin Xiaofeng tried to say something more, but was silenced by a look from CEO Chen. After the meeting, Su Qingyu was called away by CEO Chen for a talk. I returned to my desk, my mind still buzzing. Why would Su Qingyu take such a huge risk for me? Was it merely because she admired my copywriting skills? Zhang Ge leaned over. Xiaoyang, you and Director Su, are you really just colleagues? Of course. I stopped mid-sentence, remembering her flushed cheeks under the streetlight last night, suddenly unsure. In the afternoon, Su Qingyu called me into her office directly after leaving the CEO's office. Close the door, she said. I closed the door, turned around, and before I could react, Su Qingyu pulled me into a hug. The faint scent of her perfume instantly enveloped me, my mind going blank. CEO Chen agreed. She whispered in my ear, her breath brushing against my earlobe. If we win the Blue Island pitch, Lin Xiaofeng will be transferred back to headquarters. I stood frozen, unsure where to put my hands. So you were just putting on an act for Lin Xiaofeng? Su Qingyu released me, her expression complex. Not entirely. She took a deep breath. Chung Xiaoyang, I really care about you. When I saw Lin Xiaofeng targeting you, all I wanted was to protect you, without even thinking about the consequences. My heart pounded so hard it felt like it would burst from my chest. Why? Because I like your writing, I like your creativity, and I also like. Her voice grew softer, the pure look in your eyes when you look at me. I gathered my courage and gently took her hand. Qingyu, I like you too. Ever since I saw you feeding the stray cat downstairs from the office building, maybe even earlier. Su Qingyu's eyes lit up like amber in the sunlight. Just as the distance between us was closing, there was a sudden knock on the office door. Director Su, urgent client call. It was Zhang Ji's voice. Su Qingyu quickly stepped back, smoothing her hair. Come in. Zhang Gu pushed the door open, saw the two of us, and an expression of dawning realization crossed his face. Did I interrupt something? No. Su Qingyu instantly reverted to her cool director persona. Which client? Blue Island's marketing director says they want a preview of the proposal framework. Su Qingyu nodded. Chung Xiaoyang and I will get it ready right away. After Brother Zhang left, she turned to me, the corners of her lips lifting slightly. Work first, the rest. Later, I nodded, a sweetness flooding my heart. No matter what lay ahead, at least I knew why the cool and strict Director Su's gaze towards me had fell off, because she liked me, just like I liked her. On the day of the Blue Island coffee pitch, I stood outside the Chuangxiang Media building, taking deep breaths to try and calm my racing heart. 3 months ago, I was just a nervous rookie, but today I was representing the company to pitch to a major client, And all of this was because Su Qingyu had risked her career to protect me. Nervous, a familiar voice came from behind. I turned around to see Su Qingyu in a dark blue skirt suit, her hair neatly tied up, small pearl earrings on her earlobes gleaming softly in the morning light. She looked so perfect she almost didn't seem real. Only I knew she had been up since 5:30 this morning preparing. A little, I admitted honestly. What if the client doesn't like our creative concept? They'll like it. Su Qingyu handed me a cup of coffee. Just like I like your writing. I took the coffee, and the moment our fingertips brushed, a warmth spread from the point of contact. Ever since that day's near confession in the office, there had been a subtle understanding between us. We remained professional and rigorous during work, but when we were alone, Su Qingyu's gaze and tone would unconsciously soften. Let's go. She checked her watch. Lin Xiaofeng is already in the conference room, waiting for us. At the mention of Vice President Lin, my good mood instantly soured. Ever since the restructuring plan was halted by the CEO, Lin Xiaofeng had appeared to back down on the surface, but behind the scenes, he hadn't stopped making petty moves. Yesterday, we even discovered that the proposal direction of our competitor, Lingxi Advertising, was strikingly similar to our initial draft. This definitely wasn't a coincidence. In the elevator, Su Qingyu suddenly reached out to adjust my tie. Don't think about Lin Xiaofeng. Focus on the pitch. Her fingers moved deftly, her breath brushing against my chin. After today, he won't be a problem anymore. I looked down at her and noticed her eyelashes were trembling slightly. Clearly, she wasn't as calm as she appeared. At that moment, I suddenly realized that the cool and strict director Su also needed support, and that person, incredibly fortunate, was me. Qingyu, I called her softly. Regardless of the outcome, I'm very glad I met you. Su Qingyu looked up, a flash of surprise in her amber eyes, which then melted into a gentle smile. Silly. Inside the conference room, Blue Island's marketing team was already seated. Lin Xiaofeng sat beside CEO Chun, a hypocritical smile on his face. More disturbingly, the people from Lingxi Advertising were also there. Pitches were usually conducted separately. Director Su, considering the tight schedule, Blue Island hopes to hear both companies' proposals today in one go. CEO Chen explained, his eyes apologetic. I immediately understood Lin Xiaofeng's scheme. He wanted us to fail miserably in comparison. Lingxi Advertising's creative director, Zhou Yang, was an industry veteran known for safe, solid business proposals, a stark contrast to our bold, transformative creative concept. Su Qingyu remained composed. No problem, we're ready. Zhou Yang's team presented first. As expected, their proposal followed Blue Island's usual elite and quality path. The execution was mature and experienced, impeccably safe. Worse still, their core visual creative was almost identical to our leaked initial draft. I saw Blue Island's marketing director nod slightly, and my heart sank. A smug smile played on Lin Xiaofeng's lips as he shot me a provocative glance. It's our turn, Su Qingyu whispered, giving my arm a gentle squeeze as she stood up. Trust me. The projector lit up, and our opening was a short video. Early morning streets, hurried commuters, crowded subways. The most ordinary scenes of life imaginable. Then the frame focused on the Blue Island coffee cup in the protagonist's hand, steam gently rising in the morning light, accompanied by my copy. Every day deserves a good cup of coffee, even if it's just an ordinary day. The meeting room fell silent. I saw a young female executive for Blue Island's eyes light up. Su Qingyu began her presentation. Blue Island has always positioned itself as high-end and boutique, but our research shows that the coffee market is truly supported by countless ordinary consumers. They don't need aspirational luxury. They just need a small moment of everyday bliss. Her voice was clear and strong as she meticulously analyzed market data and consumer psychology. I followed up, adding creative details, narrating the stories behind each life scenario. The late-night comfort for those working overtime, the study companion for students, the warm medium for friends reuniting. Ultimately, what we want to convey, Su Qingyu concluded, is that Blue Island isn't just coffee. It's a spark of light in ordinary life. The final PowerPoint slide showed the slogan we designed, Blue Island Coffee, a light for every day. The presentation ended. The meeting room fell into a brief silence. Then Blue Island's marketing director, a serious man in his 50s, suddenly started clapping. Brilliant. This is exactly the direction we need for our transformation. I looked at Su Qingyu in surprise. The corners of her mouth lifted slightly, her eyes gleaming with the light of victory. The subsequent discussion overwhelmingly favored our proposal. Zhou Yang from Lingxi looked displeased, while Lin Xiaofeng's expression was as if he had swallowed a fly. Director Su, Planner Chung, the Blue Island director, said enthusiastically, "Your proposal is bold and insightful, perfectly capturing the mindset of young consumers. We decided to go with your creative." After the dust settled, Director Chun called Su Qingyu aside to talk, while I was surrounded by the Blue Island team, asking about implementation details. Through a gap in the crowd, I saw Lin Xiaofeng leaving the meeting room with a dark look on his face. Planner Chung, where did the inspiration for the subway scene come from? The female executive from Blue Island asked curiously. It was actually my own experience, I smiled sheepishly. Right after graduation, I squeezed onto the subway every day for work, and my only small luxury was buying a cup of Blue Island. It felt like it brought me back to life. That's so real. We've done surveys. Many consumers feel the same way, but no one ever thought of using it as an advertising theme. During the conversation, I noticed Su Qingyu had returned and was standing nearby, waiting for me. Her expression was much softer than usual. Her eyes held a pride I had never seen before in tenderness. After seeing the clients off, Director Chin announced that the entire company would have the afternoon off to celebrate. Colleagues cheered and discussed where to go for a celebratory meal, but Su Qingyu quietly pulled me aside. "Come with me." She took me to the company rooftop. The May wind carried the scent of flowers. Looking down, the entire city glittered under the sun. "What did Director Chin say?" I asked. "Lin Xiaofeng is being transferred back to headquarters next week." Su Qingyu leaned against the railing, the wind tousling her hair. "He admitted to leaking our initial proposal to Lingxi." "I knew it," I said indignantly. "He should be made to apologize publicly." "It doesn't matter anymore." Su Qingyu turned to face me, her eyes brighter than the sunlit city below. "We won. That's what's important." I nodded, suddenly unsure of what to say. The past few weeks felt like a dream, from discovering Su Qingyu was my reader to fighting Lin Xiaofeng together to today's victory. And now, we were alone on the deserted rooftop. The wind lifted the ends of her hair. For a moment, I wanted to reach out and brush the strand from her face, but I was afraid of offending her. "Chung Xiaoyang." Su Qingyu suddenly called my full name, her voice trembling slightly. "I have a question. You said before that you were very happy to meet me." She paused, her gaze drifting into the distance before returning to my face. Was it because of my position, or because of me as a person? The question was so typically Su Qingyu, direct, frank, yet carrying a subtle unease. I suddenly understood. Beneath the cold and stern exterior, she was just an ordinary girl afraid of getting hurt. "Qingyu." I took a step forward, mustered my courage, and gently took her hand. "I like the you who feeds stray cats, the you who's vulnerable yet stubborn when sick, the you who would risk her career to protect her subordinates. If we weren't colleagues tomorrow, this feeling wouldn't change." Su Qingyu's eyes widened slightly, then glistened with moisture. She looked down at our clasped hands and said softly, "Did you know? Pudding never gets close to strangers. It even scratched my best friend. So when it jumped onto your lap the very first time, I should have known." She looked up, her amber eyes meeting mine directly. "Chung Xiaoyang, I think I've fallen in love with you." The world stood still at that moment. All my senses narrowed down to the warmth of her hand in mine and the sparkle in her eyes. I gently pulled her closer. "Can I kiss you?" Su Qingyu's answer was a kiss she initiated. Her lips were soft and warm, carrying the scent of coffee and mint. When we pulled apart, her face was flushed like an early summer rose, but she no longer avoided my gaze. "I never thought I'd fall in love with my own subordinate," she murmured, her fingers unconsciously fiddling with my tie. "This is so unprofessional. Should we pretend to break up then?" I asked jokingly. "No." She frowned immediately, then realized I was teasing and lightly punched my arm. I mean, we can keep it private for now. Keep it hidden. Wait until you've established yourself more firmly in the company. Sounds like a plan. I smiled, pulling her into my arms. But Qingyu, I don't care what other people think. I only care about you. Su Qingyu rested against my chest, listening to my racing heartbeat. Did you know? My favorite story of yours is Rainy Night Cafe. The male protagonist waited all night just to return an umbrella to the heroine. And you're the umbrella I've waited a long time for, I whispered. Su Qingyu looked up at me, her eyes full of surprise and emotion. That's the most touching thing you've ever said. Occupational hazard. I winked playfully. But on me at this time, we talked on the rooftop for a long time, about the future, about work, about whether Pudding would get jealous. Until Su Qingyu's phone rang. It was colleagues urging us to join the celebration party. Let's go. She smoothed her hair and clothes, reverting to her professional director persona, though the tenderness in her eyes betrayed her. My dear copywriter, at the celebration party, colleagues came up one after another to toast me, congratulating me on making a name for myself in one fell swoop. Su Qingyu maintained a proper distance, but whenever our eyes met, a flicker of light only I could understand passed through hers. Zhanggu, slightly tipsy, leaned in and whispered, Xiaoyang is there. Something going on between you and Director Su. Something going on? I feigned ignorance. Stop pretending. He smiled mischievously. The way you two looked at each other today was sweeter than Blue Island coffee. I smiled without answering, my gaze searching for Su Qingyu across the crowd. She was surrounded by a few female colleagues, chatting. As if sensing my gaze, she turned and raised her glass to me, the corners of her mouth lifting into a sweet curve only I could see. After the banquet, Su Qingyu gave me a ride home on her way. Her apartment and my home were actually in opposite directions, but we had a tacit understanding. See you tomorrow, Director Su. When we reached her door, I deliberately said goodbye formally. Su Qingyu raised an eyebrow. Come in for a bit, Planner Chong. Pudding misses you. Pudding did indeed greet me enthusiastically, kneading on my lap and purring loudly. Su Qingyu brought 2 cups of tea from the kitchen and sat down beside me. I've been thinking, she said, watching Pudding relax comfortably on my lap. Maybe we could collaborate on a column. You write the copy, I handle the visuals. Using your Chun Guang pen name, of course. You want to create something together with me? I asked, surprised. Su Qingyu nodded, her eyes sparkling with creative excitement. I like your writing, and I believe my visuals can enhance it. We could start on social media, gradually build a readership. Watching her talk so eloquently, I suddenly realized this might be the best version of our relationship. Not just lovers and superior/subordinate, but creative partners and mutual spiritual support. Sound great. I took her hand, but there's one condition. What? You have to let me keep writing love stories, I said with a smile. After all, I have the best source of inspiration now. Su Qingyu's face flushed red again, but she didn't look away. Deal. Night deepened. Pudding had fallen asleep on my lap. Su Qingyu leaned against the other end of the sofa, her toes casually brushing against my calf. We talked about future plans, occasionally exchanging a gentle kiss. On this ordinary night, I had found my cup of coffee, and she was my everyday light.